Next on the news. Solemn tributes in the Diocese of Brooklyn to mark 21 years since the 9/11 terror attacks. Also, the city declares the water at a NYCHA complex safe, but one resident tells Currents News' Jacob Riis Houses that he's battling arsenic poisoning. And Pope Francis asking for prayers ahead of another trip, this time to Kazakhstan. Plus, a heartwarming reunion between a Navy dad and his kids after a 9-month tour, how their school helped out. I'm Christine Persichetti. Currents News starts right now. Brooklyn Bishop Robert Brennan leading the faithful in remembering the 9/11 terror attacks. The memorials stretched all throughout the diocese to remember that heart-wrenching day more than 2 decades ago. And Bishop Brennan processed with first responders ahead of a special mass to honor those who lost their lives. Firefighters walked over the Brooklyn Bridge in the opposite direction in which many ran on the morning of 9/11. 21 years after the attack, these members of the FDNY were greeted by Brooklyn Bishop Robert Brennan as they marched from Ground Zero onto the streets of the borough. Bishop Brennan walked with them to the Co-Cathedral of St. Joseph for Mass.
I'm proud, very proud, to stand with all of you, to walk with all of you.
Before the service began, the names of the fallen firefighters from Battalion 57, which consists of several fire stations and companies, were read aloud. Bishop Brennan says 9/11 teaches us a lesson about the value of human life.
On a day like today, when we recognize people who left for work that morning or the night before, thinking they were coming home that night, we realize that we can never miss an opportunity to draw closer to the people we love and the people who love us.
And he took this opportunity to express his gratitude to these selfless heroes who spent this somber anniversary in prayer and who continue to protect the city.
I see the icon of people who, even in spite of some of the most horrendous things that we have witnessed, still stand up and offer themselves in service to their neighbor with courage and generosity.
Also during his homily, Bishop Brennan said he was reminded of St. Paul's words, "Do not let yourself be conquered by evil, but conquer evil by doing good." Smaller memorials were held around the diocese. In Midwood, Our Lady of Refuge Catholic Church held a special mass for the firefighters who served the city following the 9/11 terror attacks. Members of the FDNY, both past and present, completely filled one side of the church as the parish prayed to the Lord to protect them. FDNY firefighters also attended a memorial mass at Our Lady of Mount Carmel in Williamsburg. Nearly 200 members of the department were in attendance, as well as the wife and daughter of Daniel Shear, a firefighter from Williamsburg who lost his life on September 11th. There was also a tribute mass at St. Athanasius Church in Bensonhurst. Parishioners of St. Athanasius laid down flowers to honor those who passed away 21 years ago. The church also processed a statue of Our Lady of Sorrows in their honor. A former flight attendant took his tribute to the heroes of 9/11 from Dulles International Airport all the way to the Pentagon. Paulie Venito pushed his beverage cart for 4 days to honor the flight crews who were killed that fateful day. He walked the approximate route taken by American Airlines Flight 77. Paulie's journey came to an end on Sunday's anniversary. Last year, Paulie walked from Boston all the way to Ground Zero, and next year he plans to walk from Newark, New Jersey to Shanksville, Pennsylvania. Some tragic news from over the weekend. A former MLB pitcher who left the mound to pursue a police career died while on the way to the 9/11 memorial in Manhattan. Officer Anthony Varvaro was on his way to work an assignment at the ceremony Sunday when he was killed in a wrong-way crash on the New Jersey Turnpike. The 37-year-old father of 4 served in the Port Authority Police Department for about 6 years Before that, he pitched for the Atlanta Braves, the Boston Red Sox, and the Seattle Mariners. Varvaro kicked off his baseball career at St. John's University. His former coach, Ed Blankmeyer, extended his condolences, saying in part, "Anthony was much more than an athlete. He was a man of service, a tremendous father and family man." As a major league pitcher, Anthony chose to leave baseball and attend the Port Authority Police Academy. And after graduating, his assignment was the World Trade Center Command. That tells you all you need to know about Anthony Varvaro, a true hero. According to the city, the water woes at a NYCHA complex are over. Mayor Eric Adams even going so far as to drink straight from the tap to prove there isn't any arsenic in the water.
Nothing's better than New York City water.
The mayor declared the water safe to drink after an Illinois-based lab retracted its test results that detected the heavy metal in the drinking water. But one resident of the Jacob Riis Houses in Manhattan says he has arsenic poisoning. And as Jessica Easthope reports, he wants answers.
Beads of sweat form on Dennis Diaz's forehead, but it's not the late summer heat. It's arsenicosis.
Diarrhea, headaches, dizziness, sweatiness.
On Saturday, Mayor Eric Adams announced tests showing traces of arsenic in the Riis Houses tap water were false. This days after the nearly 4,000 residents were told to stop drinking it. But Dennis, who's lived here his entire life, has a lot of questions he wants answered.
The smoke's coming out my sink.
He was already drinking this, water with stringy white particles in it. Dennis says if there was never any arsenic, what were those particles? And how could it be that a test showed he had a level of 1 milligram per deciliter of arsenic in his blood?
I felt betrayed. I should be safe drinking water. We live in New York City.
The test was done days after he stopped drinking that and started drinking this, the bottled water NYCHA was giving out. But Dennis said his doctor's not convinced it's making its way out of his system because he's still sick.
My biohazard container, I gotta urinate.
He has to collect his own urine for 24 hours for another test. According to the CDC, traces of arsenic stay in urine longer than blood.
I will never lose my faith in God and Jesus. I'm hoping this ain't in my system when they do the final test.
Only adding to Dennis's confusion, according to a statement from Mayor Eric Adams' office, the lab that initially tested the water admitted to introducing arsenic into the samples that led to false results. Dennis says he doesn't know who to believe.
I suffer from mental illness and post-traumatic stress, and on top of this, it just got my head spinning.
Currents News reached out to NYCHA, but a spokesperson declined to comment. Other tests done by the same lab showed Legionella bacteria present in the Riis Houses water. The city is claiming those results are also false. Despite the latest reports, the city is still urging residents not to drink their tap water until final results are analyzed.
I don't think I could ever drink this water again.
In the East Village, Jessica Easthope, Currents News.
A state Board of Regents committee voted Monday in favor of a new set of regulations that will ensure education is equal among public and private schools. The rules would require all private schools to demonstrate this by either offering Regents exams, being accredited by an approved body, or having its curriculum assessed by the local authority. A vote by the full board will happen on Tuesday morning. In a statement, the New York State Catholic Conference commended the Regents for their seriousness on the issue, saying, "Every child in New York State deserves a quality education, and our Catholic schools have always been more than happy to demonstrate that we are substantially equivalent to and often exceed public schools in the education we provide. We're confident that all of the Catholic schools in the state will be deemed substantially equivalent under the new guidelines." Faith was on full display in Queens Village Sunday evening as Catholics there celebrated the feast of Our Lady of Velencani. A procession led by 13 different ethnic groups marked the feast day. It followed a mass at Our Lady of Lourdes Church, which was led by retired Auxiliary Bishop Paul Sanchez. Around 700 people were in attendance, many wearing their own traditional and cultural outfits. Pope Francis is asking the faithful to pray for him as he embarks on what he's calling a pilgrimage of peace. The Holy Father will be in Kazakhstan for the next 3 days, participating in a gathering of the world's religious leaders. Annalise Taggart has more on what to expect from the Pope's trip.
Pope Francis is preparing for his trip to Kazakhstan from September 13th through 15th. Barring any surprises, it will be his last foreign trip scheduled for this year. On Tuesday, the Pope will depart at 7:15 a.m. from Fiumicino Airport and land in Nur Sultan at 5:45 p.m. local time. Upon arrival, he will receive a welcome at the presidential palace where he will speak with authorities. Many speculate on whether the Pope will denounce the suffering of minorities, such as the Uyghurs being persecuted in China, during this meeting. If he does so, it could hurt the relationship with China and hinder the renewal of the agreement regarding the government's recognition of the Church. On Wednesday the 14th, the Pope will participate in the Congress of Leaders of World and Traditional Religions, which gathers representatives of different faiths. This is where Pope Francis was potentially supposed to meet with Patriarch Kirill, but the leader of the Russian Orthodox Church recently canceled his attendance at the event. The Pope may instead meet with a delegation representing him. In the afternoon of the 14th, the Pope will preside at a Mass for Kazakhstan's Catholic minority. In this largely Muslim country, Catholics make up 2.4% of the population and typically originate from German and Polish descent. On Thursday the 15th, Pope Francis will meet privately, as is customary on his trips, with the country's Jesuits. He will then meet with bishops, priests, and other members of the Church of Kazakhstan. Pope Francis will give a final speech at the Congress of Leaders of World Religions before departing for the airport and landing in Rome at 8:25 p.m. local time.
That was Annalise Taggart reporting. This is the second apostolic journey of a pope to Kazakhstan after John Paul II traveled there in 2001. While it doesn't seem the pope will be making a trip to Ukraine anytime soon, the papal almoner, the man in charge of the pope's charitable works, will make his fourth trip to the war-torn country. For security reasons, the Vatican has not released exactly when or how Cardinal Konrad Krajewski would be traveling, but he will be going to Odessa, Zhytomyr, and Kharkiv to provide spiritual support and aid through the Caritas offices. There's a lot more news headed your way. Thousands are lining the roads. People in the UK offering final farewells for Queen Elizabeth II. The Ukrainian military gaining ground after some big victories over Moscow. And the nurse who jumped into action in an unlikely location to save the life of a baby.
There are now some big changes to the tablet website. You can get personalized access to the Catholic news you value. Sign up for free at thetablet.org.
Thousands say farewell as Queen Elizabeth II makes a final journey through Scotland. Mourners in the UK will have a chance to pay respects to their Queen this week. Her coffin will remain in Scotland until Tuesday when it moves on to London. Isabel Rosales has more on how crowds in the UK are paying tribute.
Crowds of mourners gathered in Edinburgh, Scotland Monday to pay their final respects to Queen Elizabeth II.
Sort of a grandmother to us all. It's not just a loss of a monarch, or it's a loss of some, like a family member.
People line the streets to watch her coffin be moved from Holyrood House to St. Giles Cathedral, where she will lie until Tuesday. Her remains will then be taken to Buckingham Palace in London. Then on Wednesday, the Queen will lie in state at Westminster Hall until her funeral on the 19th. As crowds say goodbye to their beloved late Queen, King Charles III addressed Parliament for the first time since becoming king, saying, "I am deeply grateful for the addresses of condolence by the House of Lords and the House of Commons, which so touchingly encompass what our late sovereign, my beloved mother, the Queen, meant to us all." Meanwhile, leaders from across the globe are paying tribute to Her late Majesty.
She's reigned for all 7 Saudi kings since the founding of the kingdom in 1932. So it's a remarkable relationship.
And the president of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky, arriving at the residence of the British ambassador and signing the condolence book. A period of mourning rippling across the world. In London, Isabel Rosales, Currents News.
And taking the throne is the Queen's son. King Charles III was publicly declared England's new king Saturday.
God save the King.
During his confirmation ceremony, the new British monarch spoke about his great inheritance, vowing for peace, prosperity, and harmony for the people of the Commonwealth. He also signed an oath taken by all sovereigns, swearing allegiance to the Church of Scotland. Now that Charles has the crown, let's take a look at what that does for the next line of succession. His eldest son, William, now the Prince of Wales, is next in line for the throne, followed then by his son, Prince George of Wales. Third in line is Princess Charlotte, followed by William and Kate's youngest son, Princess Louis. Despite a controversial decision to step back from royal duties, Prince Harry is still fifth in line. Harry's two children also now have titles of Prince and Princess, and now Archie is sixth in line. Be sure to stay with Currents News and the tablet as we continue to cover the world's goodbye to Queen Elizabeth II and the future of the monarchy in the United Kingdom. To the war in Ukraine, an aggressive counteroffensive has Russian forces on the run. The Ukrainian military has taken control of another critical town in the eastern part of the country. Chris Wynn is in Washington with the latest on the conflict.
In northeastern Ukraine, success on the battlefield for Ukrainian forces as they roll through Russian defenses in the Kharkiv region.
We just cannot allow Russia to continue the same occupation that they started back in 2014.
Ukraine retaking more than 1,100 square miles of eastern territory in a massive counteroffensive, more than Russian troops have captured in all their operations since April.
We will liberate all Ukraine because this is what we have to do, not only to restore our territorial integrity, but to save all of our people who are under occupation.
Ukrainian defense officials also pointing to recent progress in the southern Kherson region as they demand Russian troops surrender. Meanwhile, negotiations continue over pausing military action in and around the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant amid fears of a catastrophic meltdown.
What we need here really is Ukraine and Russia to agree on a very simple principle of not attacking or not shelling at the plant.
The Kremlin on Monday insisted that it will achieve its goals in Ukraine and retaliated with airstrikes in Kharkiv, cutting off much of the power and water supply to the city. But Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says his troops will carry on.
We will not be standing still. We will be slowly, gradually moving forward.
Chris Wynn, Currents News.
Still to come on Currents News, they're used to saving lives, but one nurse was definitely in the right place at the right time when a baby needed her help. And they hadn't seen him in 9 months, so one dad decided to put together a special surprise for his children. That's next. Do you have a story idea or want to share a tip? Email us at newstips@desalesmedia.org or call our 24-hour number, 718-517-3122. We'll be right back. Flying to Florida last week erupted in applause after a heroic nurse jumped into action and saved a baby who stopped breathing. The Spirit Airlines flight had just left Pittsburgh. It was only in the air for 30 minutes when the 3-month-old child experienced a sudden medical emergency. Thankfully, Tamara Panzino was also on board, and even though she's a retired RN, her years of experience kicked into high gear.
I was reading my book, not paying attention, had my earbuds in, and I heard a flight attendant say, "We have an infant not breathing." Gave daddy the baby, held it while I did a sternal rub, kind of an aggressive shake of the chest, and before we knew it, we knew within a couple minutes that we were home free. The baby was going to be good. The color came back. I heard breathing sounds, heard heartbeat.
Tamara pushes back on being called a hero. Instead, she says it was a group effort. And it was a surprise at a Virginia Catholic school for 3 children who went to class thinking it would be a normal day. But that wasn't the case. Their dad is a Navy chief who just returned from a 9-month deployment who couldn't wait to see his kids. Angela Bohan was there for the heartwarming reunion.
Staff here at St. Matthew's was excited to be part of the big day. Mom and Dad were a bit anxious, but they agreed to let us walk through the halls with them and capture their special moment.
So they don't expect that until another 2 days. Oh, I am so excited about this. This is just, it's good news. We all need some good news. 9 months is a long time to be gone.
More than a quarter of students at St. Matthew's Catholic School in Virginia Beach are part of military families.
It's an exciting time, but definitely a difficult time, and hopefully we'll be here for them for all of that.
And here is the moment, 9 months in the making.
Missed you.
And it wasn't just one amazing surprise with 5th grader Brody.
I just thought it'd be cool to come get you from school.
Did we surprise you? Yeah, was it a good surprise? Are you happy? Yeah.
Navy Chief Michael Collins also surprised his daughter Emery while in PE class. At first, she doesn't notice Dad, actually sprints away from him and does an about face when her classmates start yelling her name.
It's okay. You're so beautiful. You got so big. Thank you.
As if that wasn't enough to get the tears flowing, a sweet reunion with his youngest.
Come here. I missed you so much.
Morgan, who's in kindergarten, doesn't know Chief Michael Collins as a hospital corpsman, just Daddy.
That's pretty.
And she wasted no time showing him her new lunchbox.
They're a lot bigger, especially the little one, Morgan. She got huge.
Chief Collins said he's looking forward to hanging out with the family and having some regular food. Morgan suggested Chick-fil-A.
Daddy's home. Daddy's home.
Those stories always get me so choked up. That was Angela Bohan reporting. And that is Currents News. I'm Christine Persichetti. Thank you for joining us because we are putting your faith in the news. We leave you now with one final tribute to the heroes of 9/11. We will never forget your sacrifice.